Hi, I'm Tim Eschtruth. I'm going to be fighting over in Rizin over in Japan on June 2nd, and I'm here with We Are Rizin podcast.
Hey everybody, you are listening to the We Are Rizin podcast. This is your host Andrew Benjamin, and I'm joined by a very special guest today. With us, we have all the way from Saginaw, Michigan. He fights out of the Scorpion fighting system. We've got Tim Eschtruth, who will be fighting Erson Yamamoto at Rizin 16 in Kobe. Tim, I appreciate you really doing this interview. I thank you for your time.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me. It's quite the honor.
So can we just talk a little bit about yourself, how you got into MMA, and just tell us a little bit about yourself for the people who may not be familiar with you.
Yeah, I'm obviously from Saginaw, a little small town up here in Michigan, and what got me in MMA was I've done judo for a long time, and I had a friend ask me, "How good is your judo?" And I was like, "Oh, what do you mean? You know, I've done good at this tournament. I've won at this national tournament. I've done good at this tournament." And so they're like, "Well, no, how good would it do in a real fight?" And I was like, "I have no idea. I've never been to a fight before." So they're like, "Well, what would you do in a cage?" I'm like, "I don't know. So let's go find out." And so I talked with a promoter, Big John MMA here in Michigan, and they got me a fight, and I got hooked. So, I mean, it's just been, quite the experience ever since. So, I've been doing it for probably about 8 years now.
And you've been a pro for about 3 years. 2016 was your first pro fight, if I'm correct, right?
That's correct.
Okay. So, were you initially just a judo? We just trained in judo, and then you transitioned to MMA?
Yep, I was basically just straight judo. I was a brown belt in judo, and then I thought I could do well with just my judo, and then as I found out in MMA, there's all these well-rounded people, and there's other aspects to the game, so I've been trying to learn as much as possible. I've been doing jiu-jitsu, I've done boxing, I've done Muay Thai, I've done Taekwondo, always constantly cross-training, trying to grab as much information as possible and to better myself as a martial artist.
So what would you say is the hardest martial arts that you've had to learn so far, and what is the easiest that you've had that when it comes to adapting to the MMA type of fighting?
I would say the striking was probably my hardest because I love to grapple. I love to get in close, and I like to grapple with people. So having to stand back and use my striking, that's probably been my hardest aspect, to grasp, because I've constantly always wanted to come in and clinch and go for it, to throw and stuff. So now, just to use my hands and use my legs is a different aspect.
What about the hardest? Is there anything that about MMA that you found hard or that was difficult to adapt to?
I guess not really. I mean, like for MMA, I guess some of it is just having more of it. The jiu-jitsu is not pulling guard all the time. That was kind of a harder thing to establish, not wanting to do that all the time. Because when you're used to sports jiu-jitsu and judo, you pull guard. Well, in MMA, you're not safe there. because they can come down and punch you and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I managed to watch a few of your fights. You have a 4-1 record, and one thing I've noticed about your record is that you have 3 finishes. 3 of your 4 fights you finished in round 2. How is that something that just? How does that happen? Where you've gotten all of your finishes in round 2? Is that just something that just happens, or is that something that you plan for?
that's just kind of something that's been happening. As an amateur, most of my fights were done and over with in the first minute in the first round. So they didn't last long. So then as a pro, you're going with different guys and better guys, and it just came down to who had more heart, in those other rounds.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Go
ahead.
Oh, so I was going to ask you, can you tell me about the Scorpion fighting system? I'm not too familiar with that fight team. How long has it been around? Are there any other fighters that fight out there that other people may know of? Yeah, just tell us a little bit about the Scorpion fighting system.
Yeah, Scorpion fight system. They have James Gray as their head coach there. They have John Chalbeck as their boxing coach, Brian Finazio as one of the other jiu-jitsu coaches, and Max Ivanov as their Muay Thai coach. And they've been around for quite some time here in Michigan, and it's honestly one of the best gyms that I've ever been to and that I've trained at, and I feel like it's family to me. So I always enjoy being there, and I've been there for probably about 6 years now. So,
what makes it an exceptional gym in your eyes?
I would say like the people there. Everybody's pretty cool there. We all get along. We're like family. My coaches are always willing to go that extra mile for you at all times, and I've never had that at any other gyms. Some of the other gyms, it's the coaches are like, well, what can you do for me? What can you do for me? And these guys, it's the other way around, where it's, what can I do for you? And that's what I needed. Now names out of there, they have ABC. You have Amanda Bob Cooper, who fights in the UFC. Then you have Josh Parisian, who was on the #1 Contender and was just on the Ultimate Fighter. Zach Shaw. They have Taylor Moore, who's getting ready to make his Bellator debut next week. So, and then we've had other UFC fighters pop in there and do a lot of their fight camps there.
So, what fighters? Who are your favorite fighters, and are there any fighters that have inspired you as an MMA fighter?
I would say that out of MMA fighters who inspired me was John McDessie.
Mm-hmm.
Because, he was always the little guy in his weight class and stuff like that, and he's short. So for that, and I'm a little guy, so to see that was always like, okay, that's cool. If a little guy can come up there and do that, I can do that. Demetrius Johnson, his humbleness is what inspires me and what I like to see. I like seeing how humble he is, and that's the kind of person I want to be. I want people to sit there and like, Tim's a humble guy. You never hear anything bad about him. Like with some of the guys, you hear the trash talk and the drama, and you don't hear that with Demetrius Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I want.
Mm-hmm. How about with Japanese MMA? Did you ever watch Pride or Dream or any other promotions out of Japan?
I watched some of their Pride.
Mm-hmm. What do you think of Pride?
It's a different beast.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely a different beast than what you're used to seeing. When you can soccer punch somebody in the face and stuff like that, it changes the game.
Mm-hmm. So I gotta ask you. So with Rizin, tell us about how they got in contact with you about this fight with Erson Yamamoto.
Well, when they were doing this, like I've been looking to get outside of Michigan and getting outside of the U.S. And my coach was putting out feelers and then they got a hold of James last week about it, because I was almost had a fight in Russia, and that fight kind of fell through. And then Rizin got a hold of me and got a hold of James and said, "Hey, do you guys want Tim to fight him?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course I want to." It's a chance to get my name out there. It's a chance to do something with my life.
If you don't mind me asking, was in Russia? Was that the Was it AKB? I think is that the name of the promotion?
Yes.
Okay, yes, that was it. Yeah, they're getting a lot of international fighters for their promotion. So I'll just figure it was that promotion. But with Rizin, so have you ever seen a Rizin show before or a Rizin match before?
Yes, I've seen a couple of them.
What do you think about the promotion?
I like it. It's a really well-run promotion. Fighting a ring is a little bit different than what I'm used to, but I'll make my adjustments. But yeah, I like what they do.
So yeah, actually talk about. So, are you familiar with your opponent at all, Erson Yamamoto?
A little bit. I've been watching some of his films and stuff like that, trying to grasp what he does. Obviously with him being more of a wrestling background with a Greco, it's honestly really no different than like a no-gi judo match for me.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be interesting to see how it works between the two of us. But I also train with guys who are pure wrestlers.
Mm. So what is your impression of him as a fighter?
He's tough, So he's had some tough fights. Don't take him lightly, and don't do anything stupid. Mm-hmm. So I got to make sure I'm on point with everything.
So I'm curious to know. So before this fight that comes up, you have fought only in Michigan. Is that correct?
Correct.
So now you are going to be going across the world to Japan at the Kobe World Hall, I believe it is, which houses about 16,000, 17,000 people. How does it feel to be going from where you've been fighting now to something like this? Going from probably hundreds of people watching a fight to possibly over 10,000 people watching a fight, and possibly on Japanese television as well.
It's going to be the adrenaline rush. It's going to be definitely a big adrenaline rush. But I know I'll do okay. I'm not exactly 100% even worried about that, but I'll make that adjustment.
Mm.
But yeah, I mean, it's going to be like any other fight, and that's the way I got to treat it. So, and obviously there's going to be a lot more people, but, this is my chance to show the world what I got. So, I'm not going to risk that. So I'm going to do whatever I can.
Have you ever been to Japan before?
No, not yet. So this is going to be a little bit of a culture shock for me.
So you mentioned before about also this is going to be in a ring, and I think you probably only fought in a cage.
Correct.
So now, how is that? Are you training any differently with that regarding that as well?
Yes, I have been trying to do more stuff in a boxing ring, so that way, because obviously you have ropes instead of a cage, so like when you shoot, you could possibly fall out
yeah.
or something, so I've been trying to do more stuff like that instead of using the cage to my advantage. So, because with the cage I can pin somebody up against there and get the takedown, where this I really don't have that option unless I get them into a corner and possibly use it.
Mm-hmm. What about training? How are you preparing for your fight against Erson right now? Are you going up against, trying to have more sparring partners that are more wrestling based, or can you talk a little bit about your training methods right now?
My thing is I go to any opponent. Obviously, I try to work mostly on with defending his wrestling and stuff like that. But then I also make sure I'm hitting every aspect of the game. So, because you never know, he might have been holding back with his striking, so I got to prepare for that. He might be a fabulous striker, so I got to get ready for that. I get ready for he might have some sick jiu-jitsu that he hasn't shown yet. So I always make sure I prepare for the unknown.
Mm. Well, one of the things I can tell you about him as a fighter is that his grappling defense is not as pronounced. He has been submitted I believe, at least twice in a Rizin ring. And the only other loss I think was a knockout, if I remember correctly. So I know that his grappling is probably not as good as yours. So I mean, knowing that though, would you then try to focus on trying to get that fight to the ground and maybe trying to submit him that way? Or is there any way that you're looking to finish this fight as quickly as possible?
If it goes to the ground, I feel comfortable enough with my abilities that I know I can sub him. I've traveled all over the country, and I've trained with some of the top guys in the country in jiu-jitsu. So, I feel very comfortable on my back if I have to. I feel very comfortable on the ground, period. But then with striking, I know I could, if I wanted to, I could stand up with him.
Mm-hmm.
It came to that. So, like I said, I'm ready for every aspect to go with him.
Actually, I wanted to correct myself. It was 3 losses by submission in a Rizin ring, not 2.
Okay.
Okay. Do you have any plans I know it's a little bit early now. It's almost a month towards the actual show, but do you have it, since it'll be your first time in Japan, do you have any plans for what you're going to do there during your free time, or have you planned that out at all or thought about it even?
Nope. I haven't even had a chance to really think about that. My main focus is really the fight,
mm-hmm.
So, if I get to do extras, that's cool, but right now is geared towards the fight.
And can you talk about your status of Rizin? Do you have any more fights lined up, or is this a one-fight deal? Is there anything you could talk about that?
Right now, this is, just the one fight so far, and hopefully, after I win, that they sign me. Mm-hmm. So that's the goal.
And if you do win, and they do sign you, is there anybody in Rizin who you particularly would like to fight?
Whoever they throw at me. I don't have anybody in particular. My main thing is, like, my coach says the sooner you fight, that's what I want. That's what I'm going to fight. I'll fight whoever my coach tells me to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So.
And so I'm also curious to know a little bit about your when you're not fighting. What do you like to do when you're not fighting or training for a fight?
I'm like the biggest geek ever. So, I do a lot of nerd stuff. I play like Warhammer 40K. I play with my computer. I spend a lot of time with my daughter. I have full custody of my daughter, so her and I, we go fishing together, hunting. We play paintball together. So that's a lot of my time spending with her. My girlfriend, her and I train a little bit together when we, but most of the time we're hanging out, doing stuff. So living an outdoor life. But yeah, that's pretty much what I do when I'm not training. Other sports, kind of. But a good hunk of the time I'm in the gym. That's mostly my life.
It's so funny how you bring up hunting, because also there's another fighter from Michigan, Darren Cruikshank. He's also a big hunter as well.
Yes.
So is this a Michigan thing? Do Michigan people like to hunt a lot?
Yeah, we hunt a lot, and we like to kill things. So, it's a passion up here. If you're, you can tell you're from Michigan when your vehicle is camel.
That's funny.
So
yeah, you said you're also into geek stuff. So Warhammer. Actually, there's funny that you bring that up. There's actually another MMA fighter who's into Warhammer, and that's Josh Barnett.
Nice.
And so, like, are you? Is that a tabletop game? If I'm correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's a war strategy game, and I've been doing it since I was in high school. And I got my daughter playing it. We go to tournaments all over because it's just a nice, relaxing thing, and it sharpens your mind. Because it's a war game, and you never know. Like, there's 1 minute that you're doing awesome, and then the next minute, crap's happening, and you got to stay focused. And that's just like for fighting, in the cage. When you're fighting, 1 minute you're winning, and the next minute, oh crap, I'm losing, and you got to learn how to keep calm. And that's why I love playing that.
So, are you into any other tabletop games like Dungeons and Dragons or Yu-Gi-Oh or anything of that sort?
I used to be in D&D back in the day. I play a little bit of the Star Wars D&D version. from time to time when I get a chance. Not really. I never got into Yu-Gi-Oh or Pokemon. I used to play Magic all the time when I was younger.
So with D&D, were you chaotic neutral, lawful good? What was your status?
I was chaotic neutral. I kind of liked that. That was my thing. I liked being that weird person. Like one of the games, I was a little midget guy, and I had, I was kind of like Tyrion from what is it? Game of Thrones. I was always I was just a little guy and having big guys do all my stuff. And then another game, I was like pretending I was an old man and just going around stabbing everybody in the back. it was, yeah.
So, are you a Game of Thrones fan also?
My girlfriend got me into that. I was a big Walking Dead person, and then she's like, "You got to watch this. You love this stuff." And I'm like, "I do, but I've never seen this." I've watched like Spartacus, and absolutely love Spartacus. That was always one of my favorite shows to watch. And then just got into Game of Thrones just recently.
I actually just started watching Spartacus myself. I just finished season 1. I think it was the first the first duel between Spartacus and I'm trying to forget his name. There's something. It might be. There's so many characters in that show. So many characters in that show.
Probably Crixus.
Because actually a coworker of mine got me into that show, and yeah, I think it's a great show. Very, very, very foul-mouthed and violent, but nonetheless still a very good show.
Oh yeah, I mean, I like it because I can relate to a lot of what's going on in their lives, with training and fighting, so I can understand what's going on with that, So I get that. So it's more of a, like I said, I can relate to their stuff.
So do you happen to be also into video games, or are you just into tabletop?
I am into video games as well. I like first-person shooters. Depending on who I'm playing with. If I'm playing with my daughter, I can't play with her because she kicks my butt. So I don't like playing with her. I like fighter games, Street Fighters, Mortal Kombat, Tekken. Love playing those. Big Madden fan. Love playing. I've been playing Madden since like 98. So.
Have you played the recent Mortal Kombat game, Mortal Kombat 11?
Not yet. I've been trying to. Each time I turn around, when I'm going to go buy it, I always see another game. I'm like, oh shoot, I got to get this, and then I go get that first.
So it sounds like since you were in the first-person shooters, you probably were into Call of Duty at some point.
Yes, really big into Call of Duty. Unless I'm playing with my daughter, and then I can't play with it because I get really upset because she kicks my butt. I used to be, Doom when that was back, and the thing. But yeah, I used to play a lot of those.
So you said you were playing back in what was it, 98? You were playing which game was it again?
Madden. I even have for the Sega Genesis Madden 95. So
if you don't mind me asking, how old are you?
I am 36.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, I'm a little seasoned. It's like MMA wasn't that big when I started getting into it, and because I was like, I was 27 when MMA first was starting to come about, and UFC was starting to get big. So yeah, it was a little bit of a late bloomer, but it's really nice because like I haven't stopped. I love it, and it feels good when I can keep up or I'm smoking these younger guys. Because some of these younger guys, they think that, oh, well, I'm young, he's old, that they're just going to come up and smoke me, and they're going to outmuscle me and stuff, where as I've gotten older, I don't fight harder, I fight smarter. And because, like, a lot of people ask me what's my philosophy on fighting, and I tell them I'm the laziest fighter you'll ever find. I don't want to work hard when I'm fighting. I like to get the win quick and done over with, but I don't want to kill myself in the process. So I'm going to do whatever I can, get to fight, That's why I love the judo and jiu-jitsu, because like with the judo, when anybody tries to outmuscle me, and I've gone with Olympic and college wrestlers where I send them for a ride and then I sub them quick because they think, oh, he's little, I'm just going to outmuscle him, and that's not what happens. They get thrown, and then next thing you know, I'm on their back, or I got them in an armbar or a heel hook or something like that, and that's why I love it.
Mm-hmm. So if you're 36, let me just double check on Erson's age. I believe Erson is 22, so you almost are you're over 10 years older than almost 15. So again, the age thing, you don't think that'll be a factor at all in your match coming up. In fact, you think that your age will be actually probably a positive factor.
I think honestly it's a positive factor because if you even look at some of the guys in the UFC, the older they got, the better they got because we're not making those stupid risky stuff. We're not going like hardcore, like, oh, I got to get this quick knockout super quick and going crazy, where it's controlling the pace, controlling the fight, and fighting at a smarter pace. You watch some of George St. Pierre's earlier fights, it would be kind of a little chaotic a little bit, but then as he gotten older, you saw him evolve and fight smarter.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I feel like I'm honestly a better fighter now at my age than I was like 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh no, that's actually amazing because a lot of people tend to if an older fighter they tend to look down on them, but then you got people like Daniel Cormier, and you got trying to think of other people. I know there's a few fighters in the UFC who are Russian who are much older, and they're smoking those younger guys as well. So yeah, that's and as a 32-year-old who's also into MMA, it's always good to know that there's as someone who's in the same age range who's being a successful MMA fighter out there.
Oh yeah, well, who was it? There was a guy I can't remember his name. His name just is slipping me right now, but he just turned 40, and this was like a couple months ago. He won, making his UFC debut.
Oh, I'm trying to think.
I cannot think of his name, but yeah, he was 40.
Yeah, I can't think of his name too. I mean, the only other 40-year-old besides Daniel Cormier that I know of on the UFC roster is Yoel Romero in the middleweight division. That's quite amazing that you've been doing it for you're a late bloomer, but you practically feel like a veteran at this point.
Yeah.
But that's basically all the questions I have, Tim. I want to give you an opportunity in case Erson ever listens to this audio. He actually does speak English. He actually, I know for a fact, does speak fluent English because he did train in wrestling when he came over to the United States when he was I think he was a teenager or much younger. But if you ever listen to this audio, I want to give you an opportunity to say whatever you want to or about him. The floor is yours.
I'm just honored to fight him. I'm not really big into the trash talk, so, it's an honor to go out there, and I hope, I don't hope, I know he and I are going to put on a good show. So, and if it goes well, shoot, maybe we'll have a rematch if it's long as it's a good show.
Mm-hmm. And I want to give you an opportunity to plug your team, your sponsors, and your social media where people can reach out and follow you.
You can follow me on my Facebook at Timothy Eschtruth. My Instagram at then my last name Eschtruth, and Instagram. And got my Edge family out here in Saginaw, Midland. I have my SFS family down in Brighton. I want to say thank you to all my coaches, James Gray, John Chalbeck, Max Ivanov. Thank you guys so much for everything, and yeah.
Okay, great, and I presume that the fight will be on Fight TV, just like every other Rizin show, though it hasn't been officially announced, but I'll presume it'll be on Fight TV for everybody outside Japan. And it'll be one of the fights featured will be Tim Eschtruth versus Erson Yamamoto in the bantamweight division. And Tim, thank you so much for doing this interview. Good luck in your fight, and we definitely would love to talk to you again in the future, especially if you have a long career of Rizin.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. You have a great day now.